Everyone in the village laughed at him until the day they realized he owned everything they stood on. They used to say Daniel Carter was cursed, not because he was evil, not because he was lazy, but because no matter how hard he worked, life never worked for him. Daniel lived in a broken wooden shack at the edge of Maplewood Village, a place where hope felt expensive and kindness was rare. The roof leaked when it rained. The floor creaked like it was tired of holding him. And every morning, Daniel woke up with the same question burning in his chest. How long will this suffering last? He was 38 years old, but pain had aged him faster. His hands were rough, scarred from years of farm labor that barely paid enough to eat. His clothes were always faded. His shoes, if you could call them that, were stitched together more times than anyone could count. Daniel had once dreamed big. He wanted to build a small business. He wanted a family. He wanted a life where hunger didn't follow him like a shadow. But dreams are heavy when you're poor, and after years of failure, Daniel stopped dreaming. And every morning, before the sun fully rose, Daniel walked into the village looking for work. Sometimes he carried sacks of grain. Sometimes he cleaned stables. Sometimes he stood there all day and went home with nothing. People noticed him, but not kindly. "Here comes poor Daniel," some villagers would whisper. Others laughed louder, just to make sure he heard. Only one person treated him like a human being, Mrs. Eleanor Brooks, an elderly widow who owned a tiny grocery stall. "Good morning, Daniel," she'd say gently. Daniel would nod, forcing a smile. That smile cost him effort. Smiles were expensive when your stomach was empty. And one evening, after a long day of rejection, Daniel walked home under a darkening sky. Rain started pouring heavily, cold, ruthless. As he crossed the old dirt road near the forest, he heard something that stopped him. A weak voice. "Help, please." Daniel froze. Most people would have kept walking. After all, he had nothing. No money, no power, no strength to spare. But Daniel turned back. Under a fallen tree lay a young man, bleeding from his leg. His clothes were expensive, his shoes spotless, until now. "I crashed my car," the man groaned. "My phone, it's dead." Daniel knelt beside him without hesitation. "What's your name?" Daniel asked. "Andrew Miller," the stranger replied, breathing hard. Daniel tore a strip from his own shirt and wrapped Andrew's wound. The rain soaked him, but he didn't stop. "I'll get help," Daniel said. "But the hospital is far," Andrew whispered. "You'll miss work." Daniel paused. Work meant survival. Missing it meant hunger. Still, Daniel lifted Andrew onto his back. "Life is worth more than a day's wage," he said quietly. Step by painful step, Daniel carried Andrew through rain and mud, his legs shaking, his breath heavy. By the time they reached the clinic miles away, Daniel collapsed at the door. "And Mose?" When Daniel woke up, he was lying on a hospital bench. His clothes were still wet. His body screamed in pain. Andrew sat beside him, eyes filled with something Daniel wasn't used to seeing: respect. "You saved my life," Andrew said. "Why?" Daniel shrugged weakly. "Because someone needed help." Andrew studied him closely. "What do you do for a living?" "I survive," Daniel replied. Andrew smiled, but not in pity, in curiosity. And days passed. Daniel returned to his old life. Same hunger, same laughter from the villagers. Until one morning, a black luxury car rolled into Maplewood Village. People stopped, whispered, gathered. The car door opened. Andrew Miller stepped out now, wearing a tailored suit, confidence written all over him. Behind him stood lawyers, business partners. And then Andrew did something no one expected. He walked straight toward Daniel's shack. "Daniel Carter," Andrew called loudly. Villagers watched in shock as Daniel stepped outside, confused. Andrew shook his hand firmly. "This man saved my life," Andrew announced. And today, I'm here to repay a debt." Gasps rippled through the crowd. And Andrew explained everything. He was the son of a powerful investor. He owned vast amounts of land around Maplewood Village, land the villagers had been using for years without knowing its true value. "I was testing a development project when I crashed," Andrew said, "and this man, who had nothing, gave me everything he had." Andrew turned to Daniel. "I want you to manage my new agricultural and housing project here. You'll be paid fairly, you'll own shares, and more importantly, you'll decide who gets hired." Daniel's knees nearly gave out. "Why me?" he asked, voice shaking. Andrew answered simply, "Because you chose kindness when the world gave you none." And the village changed fast. Daniel didn't just become employed, he became empowered. He hired the same people who once mocked him, not out of revenge, but mercy. He paid them well. He treated them fairly. Fields were modernized, homes were built, businesses opened. And Daniel learned. He studied finances at night, asked questions, made mistakes, grew wiser. Within 3 years, Daniel Carter owned more land than anyone in Maplewood Village. His investments flourished. His name carried weight. But his heart stayed the same. Late. One afternoon, Mrs. Eleanor Brooks visited Daniel's new home, a warm, beautiful house with a garden. She smiled through tears. "You never changed," she said. Daniel hugged her gently. "Wealth doesn't change who you are," he replied. "It only reveals it." Late. Years later, children in the village learned a different story. Not about a cursed man, not about a beggar, but about Daniel Carter, the poorest man who became the richest, not because he chased money, but because he chose goodness when it was hardest. And the villagers finally understood something too late to forget. The smallest act of kindness can rewrite an entire life.